Hello, today I want to show you a little bit about drawing with a Sharpie in order to create value and texture. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is how Sharpies are not erasable and they don't blend. So we have to figure out how to make it appear that there's different value. So make it look like there's more highlights or shadows. One thing you can do is use a thick
versus a thin
tip Sharpie. The thick lines will appear darker
than the thin lines.
You can also have lines that are closer together versus lines that are farther apart. Additionally, if you use overlapping, a lot of overlapping will feel darker than a little bit of overlapping. So creating different textures with these values, they all have different names. So one of them, for example, is called hatching. And hatching is this kind of mark making where you're just kind of drawing lines, and as they're closer together, they appear darker, and as they get further apart, they feel lighter. Cross hatching is when you overlap them. So lots of overlap versus a little bit of overlap versus even less. Stippling is one of my favorites. When you make dots, as the dots are closer together, they appear darker, and then you can make them spread apart. With stippling, I often switch between my thick and my thin as well, so that I can make it feel denser with still leaving some of that white space. If you are stippling, please try not to go very hard and make like a tapping sound while you're doing it, because that can damage the tip of the Sharpie. So just a gentle touch to the paper is going to be enough. Scrawling is another one that's one of my favorites. It's basically just scribbling, and it's creating overlaps, but they're not rigid lines, they're very organic lines. And again, where there's more overlapping, you're going to find it's a lot darker. You're also welcome to make up your own. So if I do like this little wave pattern, if I make little waves that are very close together, it will feel darker than if I have bigger waves that are further apart. Oops. So when I'm drawing, I like to start with my contour. I do dots at the beginning because it makes it easier to correct if I make a mistake. Then when I start adding hatch lines, I try to draw those hatch lines in the shape that the object looks. So this is an apple, it's very round, so I'm using rounded lines. I can mix and match and add in some stippling, and I can add in some hatching or cross hatching. I can even include a little bit of scrawling. Here I'm adding in my cast shadow, and I am using more overlap where it looks darker, and I'm using less overlap where it looks lighter to show those highlights and those shadows. Flipping between the thick and the thin Sharpie also helps me to enhance those shadows and make more contrast between the light and the dark.